some of the strands are sticky. And the spiders will also have like hooks on their feet, and they will actually hook themselves onto the web rather than to walk on the web as you would have thought. That little, oh, just flew off. There's an emerald spotted dove in the road. And they'll often sit, if you ever look at a spider, they'll often sit with obviously a leg on one or two strands, and what they're doing is actually feeling for any vibration. It looks like, I wonder if these guys were after a looks like there was a buffalo that they were following or something. So when they feel the vibration, they'll also have the hairs in the legs. Also helps them to detect the vibrations. And once they feel that, they'll then rush in. And obviously every spider does have venom, and that's how they make the insides of whatever it is that they've caught just starts to liquefy so that they can then drink it, and that's what the toxin's actually for. Awesome, thank you so much, Colleen, saying that you heard them about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and also the geese were calling. So see what we've got here then. So it does look like they were following something. Cool, good morning, Luke. A very warm welcome to you, Luke. I hope you're doing well. Welcome on board Jigger this morning. And you're just asking how many poisonous spiders we have. And as I say, they all do contain venom. And the difference between venom and poison is just that poison is ingested. You have to eat it for it to take effect, whereas venom is injected, so it's injected via the teeth. So like snakes are known as being venomous rather than poisonous. That's the only difference. There we go, we've got the tracks here again. And we have quite a number of species. So much so that I think you'd have to study spiders as one of your main subjects. I've been out with people who know a lot of spiders, and we've still found spiders that they've never seen before. And there's probably some spiders that have not even been discovered yet. So of where they live, and obviously the different habitats that they range in. And I wonder if these lions were following buffalo. Can you see any tracks on that side?
Check now.
Here we go. Got a hyena track there going back down the way. But as far as medically important spiders are concerned, we only really have 5. And obviously the two, we've got the black button spider. Did you say you got some going that way?
Yeah.
Got more? No. So I'm not getting anything really this side. There was one track back there. But
Ah,
here we go now. I've got a couple here.
You have tracks?
Couple, but they look older.
I also had one that was looking quite old.
Those tracks we're following look quite fresh. Oh no, here we go. I wonder if we can maybe get with the sun. I think we're better off trying down the way, but I'll just see if I can angle the car.
Oh yeah, I've got a fresh one still going.
Cool. Do you think you'll be able to get a shot of this or not?
Okay,
the sun shining on this one.
reverse some more.
Just here?
Yeah, it's still too close to the vehicle though.
Oh. How about there?
Ah, it's still too close.
No. Sorry guys, we're trying to see if we can show you the lion tracks here. Just a little bit too close to the vehicle and it's difficult to try and angle it so we're not down the hill.
Okay.
See if we can jump out and point it out to you.
Cool.
And if there's any lines around that start charging at me, just let me know, okay?
Sure to film it. Just hold your hand there and keep it there. Okay, cool. The back pad that Tara showed first, and those are the toes, like that.
So leopard tracks look a little bit smaller. You won't really get a leopard track the size of my hand, apart from the big male that had helped catch at the Ingwe Leopard project. Well, I'd like to say I helped catch. I was just there when they caught it, but his paw was the same size as my hand, which was amazing. It does look like this is the lion rather than the leopard. As I say, there was at least 3 sets of tracks along Mvubu Road. Yeah, for sure. Someone's saying in chat that the lions are going to bring their line buddies next to my track and say, look, a human track next to our track. Track it. No, for sure, eh? So yeah, just going back to...
Give me your binos quickly. You have them nearby.
Oh, I did bring them.
Okay. Just check way up in the... I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I can quickly zoom in and have a look at it.
Okay, I'll get to the top of the hill. Might be better.
Sure, what is that?
That would be nice if it is the lions. Do you think you'll be able to go from here?
Yeah. Give me a sec quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a bush.
A branch. Is it?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, well, we're going to have a look.
Sorry guys, I'm just quickly cleaning the lens a bit.
So yeah, as I say, we have the brown button and the black button spiders. Look like the black widows from the US. And they have the red hourglass on their abdomens. That's one of the diagnostic features of them. And then we also have the stag spider, which has got a black head and a white body, quite menacing looking spider. Tends to run around at night, and that one does bite quite readily.
Looks like it can be a Ngala, eh?
It could be.
Yeah. Mark is just saying that from his side, from final control, it looks like a male lion, but maybe that's just positive thinking. Let's
I'm not sure.
let's go closer and have a look.
Today I don't bring my binoculars, mind you, I can only use one eye of it, so. And last of all, we have the violin spider, which is also running around at night. It's got a violin shape on its abdomen. And there is the six-eyed sand spider, which they're still not sure if it does have medical properties about it or not.
It's a lion bush.
I think it is a lion bush, definitely. Either that or he's got a walk dog.
Yes, I was so excited as well, Mark.
That's it, yes, Mark. Mark's saying it's the mister of the lens. We do have a lot of their tracks here.
Yes, that would have been rad.
The stations have got a lot of Nkonzos of Ngala clambering west along the Buffelshoek line.
Sorry, but put them on cut line down west.
On Buffelshoek line going west. Come on, little ones, where are you?
I think that shopping crowd has probably got back home.
I'm hoping to bump into them on the road here.
Well, volume, I found out last night. Yeah.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
So I hear, does the Mafazi have a collar?
Yeah, it's got a collar and the girls are pretty young for to be the woodman. The little boys are quite big now. Short, 4-year-olds.
Copy that, thank you very much. Just getting confirmation about the Lion Pride, the female with the collar being from the Windmill Pride. So it has been the Windmill Pride we've been seeing. But it does look like they may have gone back home, apparently. We do still have the tracks here.
Hi.
Morning! Morning! Looks like they continue down the road. As I say, I'm just hoping that maybe we might just bump into them. Oh, hello. Right, carries on. We do have some rhino coming across the road though. Trouble is, this road is driven so often, it's very difficult to start tracking. Oh, lots of rhino tracks here. So difficult to get a clear indication of the tracks with so much traffic on the road here. These are fairly fresh. You can see, I don't know if you're able to see, I think we're a bit too close, but there's some rhino tracks, but there's a few cars that have driven over them, but not too many. As I say, with this being such a busy road, you'd see most of these tracks wiped out already if they were old. And the rhinos come down the way here. So as they came in here, grazed a little bit and then carried on. And so do the lions. Wow, this road was very busy.
move to the access road, just to the road center.
Confirm in Ingwe.
Check. Yeah, but no check. Yes.
Copy that. Okay, someone's just picked up tracks from the Leopard down on Voyatella Access. So there's been a lot of activity last night. I've just lost the Rhino tracks. I'm gonna see if we can follow these tracks as much as possible. Obviously we will hit a bad signal error at some stage, but we'll see how far we go. Got some kudu here on the left. Hey, I got a question coming through. Good morning to you, Sally, or would it be good evening? I can never remember the time. It would be evening. Can you see there, or should we move on?
That's alright.
Wow, just after midnight at 1 o'clock. Sure, Sally, I hope you're enjoying it. But you'd like to know, does the animal fur change with the seasons? And yes, it will do. I've definitely seen a thickening up of the impala, and there's some that are more thick than others. It's quite interesting to see some of the differences. But just like your pets at home, pet cat or dog, you obviously get them getting fur thicker for winter, and it does definitely happen with the animals over here too. And obviously just helping, as the fur gets longer, it just traps a larger air layer in between the fur. So it just helps them to keep warmer, obviously with the very, very cold temperatures at night and during the first part of the day and later on in the evening. It's amazing. You can still run around for a couple of months in the winter in shorts and t-shirt during the day. It still can get very hot. But as soon as that sun sets, it gets bitterly, bitterly cold. I mean, I've sat with 6-7 layers with a hot water bottle and still been quite cold. I even have slept with my beanie on top of my head. But the houses over here are more geared up for obviously the hot sun rather than the cold winter. Got about a 15-month-old male kudu there. So we can move on a little bit. And then when it does change into spring and summer again, you will get a bit of a molt going on again, just like your cat or dog. Is this better for you, or
I'm just going to move forward after
a
this.
little bit more forward?
This is good?
Is there?
No, sorry.
Oh. Okay, got an impala joining them. So they all look like they're watching something or someone. No, it's the impala watching them.
Sorry, this is actually a worse spot than we were.
Sorry?
This is a worse spot than we were.
Oh, was it?
Well, this one's going to walk into the gap. Well, a little bit more back.
A bit more?
It's good.
Okay. You see the white tails as they're running. Don't think these kudu have seen vehicles much before. They seem to be a little bit skittish, but it could be that the predators walked through here and they're just a little bit more on edge than usual. And they were certainly watching, there was one impala that walked across the road and they were certainly watching that, wondering what it was. So there's not much in the way of wind here, so the scent wouldn't have really got to them. So it sounds like the animals were active, as I say. Oh, it would be so nice if the lions were sitting out on the road here.
Wait, what?
It would be so nice if those lions were sitting out on the road here.
Yep. Miss, stop quickly.
She and one impala got left behind and sort of looked up and realised everybody had gone.
Cool.
There you go. Just a couple of boys crossing the road now. And they didn't do the normal leg flicking. It's what you would find when they cross or when they run. They will flick their legs. And obviously if there's any predators around, it'll show them how fit and strong they are. Now what is he watching? No, he just chased off that young male. You can see the stance is forward, very focused on whatever it is that's ahead. But obviously it's nothing to worry about. If it was something, you'd probably stand there a bit longer, decide, okay, maybe snort if it is something to worry about, alert the rest of the herd. You can almost imagine it. Why did we run? I don't know. I ran because they ran.
You'd make a good impala, Tara.
I talk impala very well. Haha. Good morning to you, Chad. I'm still looking for impala dung to show you what the bog stroll competition's like. But we're just asking, obviously, with the furred mammals, they increase the length of their fur to keep warm in winter, but how do elephants keep warm? I think elephants will be more behavioural than that. Maybe Mark can help me. I wonder if they actually put down a thicker layer of fat in their body or something. Do you know about that, Mark? Yeah, Mark's not sure either. I think I'll have to do a bit of reading actually, because I'm not sure, to be honest. And the same with rhino as well. Unless their skin is kind of thick enough for it not to be as much of a problem. And hence why they have to go the opposite way and flap their ears to try and keep themselves cool in the summer. Obviously with their sheer body size, it could be that they don't lose much heat, because remember, the larger the animal, the smaller the surface area, so compared to the size of the animal, so the less heat is lost. So it could be they don't really need to worry too much about that, Chad. They don't really have too many small extremities either. And it's not as if you really sort of gonna have too much, you know, like in the Arctic or anywhere like that. It's not going to be a constant cold. It will warm up. But I think probably the behaviour will help. Maybe sort of keeping moving through the night as well as during the day, and they'll sort of take little naps here and there rather than one full long nap. while they're looking for food, and as I say, they'll eat as well as during the day. And they'll probably go bush again. That. Okay. Have we got? Have I passed it already?
What?
Aubrey's Road.
Yes.
Have I passed it?
Quite a while back.
Oh.
We have to go
okay.
down this big sign and then turn right.
I thought that was Gallego, the big sign.
It is Gallego, but you go a little bit into that after the sign, and then you turn right, and then you get into Aubrey's.
Oh.
Well, and left again, and you're Aubrey's. So it's the same entrance.
I was getting one or two tracks still, but I've lost them now. Anyway, yeah, no, there's still a few tracks down there. Unfortunately, with the signal, it sounds like we're going to lose you guys. So I'll let the other guys carry on and look for the lions, and if they're in an area we might be able to. I might just try down towards the plains just in case. So as I was saying, Chad, just as with a lot of animals as well, even though they thicken their fur, they will also go into the bush. And what you will find, I mean, this morning is definitely not as cold as yesterday morning. Well, I don't think it is.
It's not.
And we're actually seeing a lot more animals this morning than we did yesterday. So if it's very, very cold, the animals tend to stick into the thick bush where the heat is trapped by the trees and the shrubs, and they'll come out a little bit later when the sun's warmed up. So I think, sort of combined with the size of the animal and the behaviour, I think that's probably how they would deal with the colder temperatures. But I'll certainly try and look more into it, Chad, for sure. Speaking of elephant, there was a few tracks there. I wonder where those rhinos went. See if we can follow them up. Sorry, I didn't copy. Did you go to Bengala?
Sorry, second.
Sorry, I didn't copy. Did you get the Ingala?
Yeah, but where I am, I think the best way is basically bringing back. Well, I'm not sure exactly where it's kept. I went into the block and then I went to go going kind of diagonally west towards the area. There's nothing coming up that far, so maybe through the world back down towards the
Okay, copy. I'm going to take Gallego now.
You're coming to the right on the front.
Copy. I'm going to be taking Gallego. Okay. There's some rhino tracks coming down here, but I think they came from that side. I think they were just racing around here, but it looked like they may have come in again. So I'll just try along this fire break here if I can. I'll still try and keep my ear to the ground about the cats, but it sounds like they've all made their way to the sandy patch area. Which of course isn't a great signal area for us. But we shall keep trying. I keep seeing rhinos everywhere, and it turns out to be the termite mounds.
Maybe let's go back and go down.
Yeah, I think so. They're having a drinks break. I think this is the Looks like Graham, hey?
It is Graham.
With his 2 guests. I think they're staying 4 nights and they've just been constantly looking for leopard. They're leopard fanatics, like quite a few of us now. And they were in that awesome sighting with us a couple of days ago where the cheetah, it was actually Graham that was helping us, and the cheetah walked right past his vehicle and then saw Mishu. I still can't get over how late that cheetah saw Mishu. Obviously it just was one of those things, he just wasn't expecting to bump into a leopard that day. Cool, got a question coming through. Sure. Hi, Scotty from Missouri. I hope you're doing well. And you're just asking what's the extreme low temperature that we get over here. I think you said in Missouri you've seen it get down to about -20. Yeah, I'm quite glad. I don't think we get that cold down here. It's funny, we were actually discussing it the other day, myself and a few of the other guys, and I've certainly had in the minus, or at least around the 0 mark, because we've definitely had frost on the ground in the morning, but I've never actually measured it, and I think we keep meaning to get a thermometer so we can actually measure it. Down here in the Sabi Sands, because that's on my old reserve, further north and obviously a higher altitude, but down here in the Sabi Sands, I was also asking them, do you get frost down here? And occasionally they do apparently, but more in the drainage line. And I don't know, would you know?
It doesn't get, the coldest I can think it will get is like 3-4 degrees.
Yeah.
It doesn't really get colder than that, and that of course is degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So obviously the day temperature is somewhere roughly around 18 or so. 15, 18, maybe 20. Babbler's calling again. And still I can't see them. They did this to us yesterday. You could hear them, you just couldn't see them. From Bets. Good morning to you. Hey, good morning to you, Bets. What an interesting question, Bets. And I think I'll definitely. That's quite an interesting one. Thank you so much, Bets. I'll actually have to have a look though. Bets is asking why. Oh, hold on. Johnny's just calling me. Johnny, go. Okay, now he's chatting to someone else. I'm hoping he's going to tell me that he's bumped into something. Johnny and standing by. Okay, so just getting back to your question, Bets, asking why, first of all, why the female would have a collar in the Windmill Pride, and why does none of the other prides, like the Styx Pride and probably the Nkuma pride not have a collar? And would Juma ever collar an animal? Well, first of all, the collars are for scientific research usually, and it's usually a radio collar, although nowadays you get the satellite part built in. And if you get the sort of more expensive collars, if you like, the top quality collars, the satellite feed will be every 6 hours, and you can actually pinpoint where the animal is every 6 hours, so it actually gives you a very accurate picture of the movements of the animal. And obviously with it being radio collared, you can go and track the animal, so you can go and observe the animal for behavior and all that sort of thing. So it's a very useful tool in the way of research. And actually having animals that are collared, you only need to have, if you've got a pack animal or a pride animal or a herd animal, you only really need to have one animal collared, because the chances of the pride breaking up or the herd breaking up are very much reduced. So if you have one member of the pride, and generally the alpha female or the alpha male or whatever, if you've got either of those collared, then you should be able to find the rest of the herd or pride with them. Obviously if there are politics and things happen and you end up with the herd or pride splitting, then you do have problems trying to relocate the rest of the herd or pride. But it's very, very useful in that sense to actually be able to relocate animals, especially over, I mean, the potential of animals walking around is quite huge in this area. I mean, there's very few fences, and between obviously Juma Game Reserve, which is in Wasabi Sands, that's roughly around 65,000 hectares, so those animals could walk anywhere they wanted to, and obviously the nomadic animals, they could potentially walk anywhere, and even into Kruger, which you've got 2.7 million hectares for the animals to move around in. So try looking for a needle in a haystack. I think it's going to be easier than, you know, trying to find one of those animals. And you saw even us trying to track the lions. Okay, we sort of reduced by our signal range to be able to carry on following it, but these animals cut across country, and you need to really have an expert tracker with you to be able to read the signs. I mean, I'm alright. I can follow tracks. As soon as they go off road, it's a different kettle of fish altogether, because believe me, lion tracks don't register that much, and they won't always keep to the sandy roads. They will go off on these animal trails. If you're lucky, the animal trail will be worn through, but if you get an animal trail like the one here, it's all grass. There's very, very little substrate, so you've actually got to look for the air tracks where the grass has been pushed over. Especially with the elephants, it's fairly easy to see, but not always. I mean, you can sort of lose that trail. So it just reduces the amount of time and effort you have to put into it to actually find the animal. So you can try and find it, relocate it with the telemetry. If you've got the last GPS reading, then you can sort of catch up with it via the GPS on its last known location. And then you can actually go and do your study or research. And especially with wild dogs, it's also quite an interesting one with wild dogs, because obviously they cover so much ground. They can cover many, many kilometers in a day or night. So even if you knew the last location of the wild dog, they could be over the other side of the reserve within hours. So it's a very, very useful tool for research. Going back to your second question, why would one pride have it and the other not? I think it would depend on where they originated from. So I know in Kruger there's a lot of research going on, so it could be that lioness came originally from Kruger. I haven't delved too much, I've not had a chance to actually delve too much into the history of the Windmill Pride as yet, but I have been sent through a few emails to actually look into all that, so I'll certainly be looking more into that when I can. And it could be that's where she originated from. Otherwise, if Colleen or Karen can maybe help me out if you are still watching, maybe see if we can get an answer for you right away, or if any of the other viewers know if that one female did come from Kruger. I've heard that I think the Robson Pride, which is, I've only just learnt about from an email I got from Colleen actually when I asked her how many prides were in this area. I think the male has got a collar, and obviously it's quite useful to get a male and a female, because obviously they'll act differently and do different things, and obviously to try and get a better understanding about these animals. That's why it's quite interesting to get both sides of the story, and obviously not just one male, one female, a couple of females, a couple of males, because obviously different individuals act differently. So again, it's just like humans. You get a very big, wide variety of personalities. You get some lions that are well up for going in for the kill, and they'll be the first ones there, and then you'll get some lions that kind of hang back and go, well, I'll let you go in and do your business, and then I'll come in a bit later. And there's been a few studies done on that as well. So there's a lot of different personalities. So you do need to collar a few animals to get a true indication of behaviours, whether it's just that behaviour of that particular animal, or whether it is something that the whole of the species do. And obviously taking just a few individuals from one area also won't give you a clear indication, because it could be that those individuals in that area are doing what it is that they do because of certain factors, whether it be the temperatures, or whether it be more or less game, whether it be more of that species in that area. So to get an even clearer picture, you need to take animals from other areas, other habitats, to try and get a clear indication. And obviously you can see it starts to get a much bigger thing than just one area, and that's why it's quite often, if people do research, they try and contact other people who are doing research in the other areas along the same line, so you can get information that will help you out and try and see if you can validate their research by what you get and all this sort of thing. So it's quite an interesting thing to do for sure. Would Juma do it? I know of a pangolin that was researched a while ago, and apparently it was released on Juma, and it did have a tracking device on it. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it's still around, because I was actually looking into maybe doing some form of research like that, because there's not much known about pangolin. And obviously if you want to try and preserve these animals, you need to know how to preserve them, what's best for them, because there's no good trying to release pangolin into areas where they don't have the right food. But the only way you can tell if it's got the right food is if you watch it and see what it eats. And it's not very often you get to see pangolin. I actually have seen pangolin once, and that was that's in the 4 years that I've been out here. So very elusive creatures. But when you find them, they do tend to stick around. They're a very slow moving animal. They tend to roll up in a ball. Its other name is a scaly anteater, because it has, instead of the hairs, keratin has formed plates or scales, and that protects its body. So they roll up into a ball and protect the body with the scales. Quite an amazing little creature. It's not too. The one that I saw was probably quite a young one. It's probably from the end of the dashboard there to about this sort of size, something like that. So that was the length of it, and then sort of that tall, maybe about that tall. Very long tail there. But again, the tail's all scaled as well, and when they roll up, they flip the tail over.
Got a Google Meet here.
Cool. Okay, Alex is just letting us know that there's a giraffe around quarantine, so I think we'll see if we can head down that way. Alex is busy trying to film more 3D shots. We were debating whether we should open on him rather than the guinea fowl. I'm sure some of you would have appreciated that. You don't get a chance to see Alex too often. Maybe one day I'll try and pull him on for a fireside chat. I'll see. Oh. Okay. That is it. Jonathan Swart. Cool, quite another interesting question, Bets. When do you take the collar off the lion or any animal for that matter? Generally, if the batteries run out, then it generally becomes null and void. And it depends on obviously the research. I know there was a collar that Darren Simpson, when he went out to the Amazon to try and track jaguar, he was actually using, or they were using collars that after a time period they would actually fall off, and it was probably about a year. That's the first time I ever heard of collars actually falling off themselves. Maybe that's where the new collars are going to, because unfortunately to get the collar off you have to anaesthetize the lion. So obviously it put a lot more stress on the lion and on the pride. So I probably would have thought, unless it was harming the lion or the animal, they probably would stay on. Because obviously if this animal's had this collar on for a lot of the time of its life, it probably just becomes one of those things that it gets used to. If the batteries need to be replaced, then of course you need to dart the animal.
Tara, with the lion pride, will you have to probably dart the whole pride? Because they won't leave the one lion alone if you dart it. Or how does that work?
Yes and no. Because when we darted our lions up in the reserve, one was darted and we were actually concerned about the male and the female sort of coming back, so they tried to dart them all in the one go, but as soon as one was darted they all ran.
Okay.
So it really does depend, I think, on the pride and the pride members. You might get some lions where they would be very protective, maybe if there's a strong bond, but they seem to, from what I've seen, as I say, it's only been the one pride, from what I've seen, that they've ran for shelter. And it was quite funny because when they were first released, there was one area that they would frequent, and when we did dart them, they actually ran to that area.
Okay.
And it was funny because there was only one person that had been around at that time. He said, "I know where they've gone." And we were like, "How?" We're looking for tracks. We were actually trying to find where the male had gone, at least. Looking for these tracks. We couldn't find the tracks, but they were already out the area, and they were probably about 2 k's from where we were. And this guy says, "I know where they've gone." We went, and there we found them. And they went back to the safe haven, which was quite incredible. Yeah, that's the problem. If the battery does go, how you find the animal to change the battery, that is the very hard part. We had the problem. We actually had a couple of cheetah collared on our old reserve, or my old reserve, and that was about 22,000 hectares. 4,000 were on the upper escarpment, the rest was on the lower. So you were looking at maybe about 18,000 hectares for this cheetah to be in. And basically the researchers had to rely on the guides, and when we found the cheetah, we would tell them, okay, we've got the cheetah, and then it was up to them to, oh, hello, we have some leopard tracks here. Actually, no, it's not leopard. Looks like these could be the cheetah tracks. So I'm trying to dwarf our leopards here. Looks like the cheetah tracks. See if we can actually follow these. So yeah, basically they would then have to rely on tracking the animal using the old methods to track the animals. Maybe it depends on obviously how important the research is and how much money and all that sort of thing, or where you are, but you get, you know, the local trackers in if you can, and literally try and find the trail from the last sighting and then follow them in on the trails. I mean, there's some trackers, and you get senior and master trackers, and it takes years to become master trackers. And I think there's only two in the country, maybe 2 or 3 in the country, who are master trackers. And the basic tracking is like we're doing on the road, tracking the animal. Then you go off road, and that's more intermediate. And then you get the master trackers, as I say, or the high level trackers who can predict where the track's going to be, and that's what you have to try and start doing. Is you have to try and predict, and obviously what they see. Maybe it's a bit of hair on a tree, or maybe it's a bit of bark that's rubbed off very recently, or something like that, or even just a slight bend in the grass, and they can say, okay, leopards walked through here 3 hours ago. That's sort of standard. I mean, it's incredible what these guys see, it really is.
Have you worked with a master tracker?
I'd love to, but I haven't yet. But I've worked with some of the guys who, Lee Guttridge, who is one of our head guides at my old reserve, and he's now got a training school. What even he sees is incredible. I mean, if you're doing the tracking assessments, what they do is they walk along the road, or he walks along the road, he circles a track, and you, especially with Lee, he used to pick these really awkward ones, but he started getting your mind working, and you'd have to go up to him and say, okay, it's this track, and he would even pick insects. I mean, there was one, I think it was an ant highway, and a mud dorper as well, rolling the little mud balls. And it was just incredible what he sees. And you can walk along the same road and miss half of it. So even then he knew what to start looking for. But you have to get 100% on your tracking assessment, and then you can be put into the next tracking level, because you've got the 3 tracking levels. And once you've got your 100% on the tracking level, then you go on to senior, and then, as I say, master trackers after many, many, many years. And so I think there's only 2 or 3 in the country. So I'd love to actually go out, and as I say, Lee is still working towards that, I believe, but really is incredible. And like he was even saying he's been out with one of these master trackers, and he was even saying about there was some rocks that had broken, and it was all quite an old riverbed, I think it was, but there was rocks that were broken. There was some rocks that were old, some rocks that were new. He says rhino walked through here, and I'm going, how, why do you know that? He said, no, look, these rocks here broken, and this was on his tracking assessment. Quite phenomenal. And I've been lucky enough to go out with Adrian Lowe. I'm not too sure what level he is, but he also, what this guy sees. We were driving along one day trying to do a tracking assessment, and I'm on the bonnet looking for tracks. We're trying to find generally if you do your trailing assessment, you have to follow a trail for 30 minutes. So you go out and find a big 5 trail, because that's obviously what you're going to be tracking more than not for guests. And you try and look for these tracks. So I'm on the bonnet looking for tracks, and we've been looking for a good hour or so. Adrian says stop. So we stop. He says 30 meters back that way. We pull up. He says, right, there's a track there. Let's follow that. It wasn't a big 5. So me and this other guy get out, have a look, and we see Impala track, and we think, no, you can't be serious. We can't track Impala. And then all of a sudden, he comes up behind us and says, you don't see that track there? And there's a very, very slight indentation of an aardvark track. Now, we were travelling probably a good 20 kilometres an hour, and he sees this very slight aardvark track, and that's what we ended up following. And that was through the bush to the termite mounds. It was good fun, but yeah, we didn't do too well with it. But that really wasn't, and to actually watch him work, and then once you lose the track you make the circle bigger and you go around the area and have a look, and again it's more predicting what the animal's going to do, and it's like, right, there's a termite mound over there, chances are it's going to go there, so let's go there, and then you move on, and wow, it really was incredible. I must admit I'd love to work with him again.
So if you're a very good tracker, it's a big part of it is actually animal behavior.
Yeah.
And knowing what the animal, as you said, predicting what the animal will be doing next.
Yeah, looking at a path and going, if I'm a lion, which path would I take?
Okay.
So it's a lot to do with that as well. And obviously it will help knowing the terrain and surroundings, but as I say, these guys, when you get to that level, you don't even need to know really the background of the animal almost. It does help. So yeah, so that's how you go and try and find an animal whose battery needed changing. Well, the collar, not the animal. The battery operated animals. So yeah. Oh, well, welcome aboard, Mike. I hope you're having a good morning. And you'd just like to know how old the animal has to be before it's collared. I don't know if there is a rule, but I'd certainly say the animal would have to be mature enough, because obviously to allow for growth, you couldn't really have a small, because obviously if you had an adult collar on a small animal or a young animal, it would fall off. You couldn't really have a tight collar on a small young animal, because obviously they still have growth and you'd have to knock it out every so many months, and obviously that's not practical and it's not fair on the animal. So I don't know if there's a written law, but I think it's probably one of those thoughts, no animal that's not matured. And also an immature animal's going to be with a mother anyway, so you probably will find that. Actually, you know what, I'm going to try. Oh, we're going to go to quarantine, aren't we?
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, I think it's just one of those understandings you only really go for mature animals who have obviously reached their growth. With the cheetahs, we had the 2 male cheetahs who were about 2.5 years old, and they obviously reached their potential size. I think that was the youngest. I think they were the youngest cheetah that we had. Oh, yeah. More tracks. It looks like these animals just had a party. Maybe all just came together and partied and then went on their way. They all seem to be in the same area. I'm sure they went last night. Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. We've got some information from Penny, I think from the trackers in Kalahari.
Yeah, she's saying the Bushman trackers in the Kalahari.
Ah, yes, the Bushman
must
trackers.
be one of the best trackers in the world.
Take a squirrel. Oh, he's just quickly sitting himself on the branch. This looks quite cute. Oh, thank you very much for that, Penny. I think you're right. Bushman trackers up in the Kalahari is probably some of the best in the world, if not the best, for sure. And I think that's one of the things, obviously with modern life, we've kind of forgotten these skills, and it's great to know.
It looks like sticks. Oh, it's classic, man. Follow right under the power line. So very close. Good stuff.
Okay, it sounds like they found the lions, but I think they said Impala Road. So I'm not too sure. I think that is that just outside of our
I think
signal?
so. Just confirm with Mark.
Station with the Ngala, can you confirm, is it close to the gate?
You can see if you come down Impala Road from Sandy Patch, just where the power line crosses that road.
Okay, Sandy Patch down Impala and underneath the power lines.
Yeah, we might get signal there.
Cool, well, let's see if we can give it a go.
Sorry,
Copy
Mark, what
that.
did you say?
Can we respond to that, or is there stations closer? Copy, thank you. Sorry, I just thought that squirrel just looked so content. Sort of just sitting with its tail curled around. But definitely the Bushmen, obviously they were hunter-gatherers, and it's nice to hear that there's still some around that still have, the old way. There's still some traditional Bushmen out there. And again, what these guys see, that really would be incredible to actually go out with them. Quite short people, shorter than me, I think. So very much obviously living off the land and preserving it as they go. Do you know, I was actually thinking maybe I should try Impala planes, and then I thought better of it. So we'll see how this signal holds. I'm hoping that it's going to hold for us. But the station calling in, I think it's Graham.
Stop quickly, please.
Just pull over. Okay. Aha, okay.
Cool.
Okay. I think it sounds like Graham. And I think he's saying it's the Styx Pride this time. But we'll see if we can... hopefully it'll come through a little bit clearer. We'll slowly make our way there. We are a little bit away. So see if we can make our way there. But I must admit also, I'd love to, because obviously the Indian from America as well, obviously they had the same sort of idea, hunter-gatherer, and obviously again, try and understand what they could see about the American, what would you call it? I don't think would it be bush?
The what?
What's the wilds in America called? See if some of the viewers can help us out. What's the wilds in America called? Is it? I know you've got like the deserts, but so obviously there's the bush here and there's the bush in Australia, but I don't know if it would it be called the bush out there in America?
Not sure.
No, I'm not sure either. Native American Plains from Pack Mentality. Okay. Wilderness. Just say that one again. Chaparral. Okay, that's from Mark. Chaparral. Oh, in California. Okay. Okay, oh, in Alaska you call it bush. Okay. So no further north, when you get into the Arctic Circle, you've got the tundra. What are we doing about the tundra? With all the Arctic foxes and the caribou and all that. It's funny, woods? Yeah, I suppose you would have the woods where the bears live. The big grizzlies. I bet that's awesome, actually. I wonder how many of the viewers have seen, well, from America, the grizzly bears and the Kodiak bears and all that sort of thing, and cougars. I heard someone saying that, I think it was in California, that they are there, they just don't see them very often. But they are around there, I think it was. I'll see wolverines. I'd love to see a wolverine. Although I saw one in a zoo and it was much, much smaller than I thought it was going to be. A beaver. I'd love to see a beaver, actually. Beavers are quite cool. Building their dams. That's pretty amazing. I actually don't think we've got the equivalent of a beaver over here. We've got some wildebeest here on the right. It looks like that giraffe is gone. And Mark was also saying there was some monkeys still calling around by FC. So he's had a quick look around, but I think maybe one of the boys is in the drainage line, and I'm kind of hoping he might come out towards, that's why we want to take Mvubu Road to try and catch up with them. But if there's any new viewers joining us, or if there's anybody that's just tuned in, you're coming we're broadcasting live from Juma Game Reserve, 100% live. So we don't cut anything out, we don't swap and change anything, it is 100% live. And you're here with some blue wildebeest at the moment, with myself, Tara. I'm guiding you this morning, and I have Herman with me on camera, and we also have Mark in final control. So if there's any other questions you'd like to ask, then you just need to email them in to finalcontrol@safari.tv. Let's say if you are on the chat room and you'd like to answer a question, sometimes we do miss it if it is in the chat, especially if the chat's going very fast. So if it does get missed in the chat, then just send an email through and we should be able to get it as well. But as I say, I think we'll see if we can carry on towards the lions. I'm not saying lions are more important than wildebeest. So I wanted to stop for them. We don't get a chance to see them too often. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 12. One's missing. Or is it just standing behind the bush? There was 13 a couple of days ago. So I wonder. Could be that the bull is not with them. Either that, or maybe
He's with some lions.
I wasn't going to say it. You can come to your own conclusions. Ooh. Let's see if we can jump out. Really cool. I'll save this for later. At least we've got some now. So come on everybody, what is it? We're having another dung competition. Keep trying to find the wrong gear this morning.
Yeah, you know the old with the center, you copy on the Impala? Yeah, that's the Impala thing.
Nearly. Is anybody in the chat that knows what the dung was? I must have put one more out again. Hey, who is that? Bubba. Bubba. Jamie Impala dung and Bubba, awesome. So you guys are becoming trackers already, knowing what dung it is. It's also an important part of it. Thanks, Doug. Just asking why is it every time he watches I grab a handful of poo. I don't get out very often, that's why. Little things amuse me. I'm gonna save it. We'll see if we can try and get to the lines. I think it's going to be quicker going down here, hey?
Yep. Depends on where they are, but I think so.
Underneath the power lines on Impala Road.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Hey. Oh, that's why. I wonder why she's struggling. I'm still in low range. There we go. Sorry, Jigga. See, we're starting to understand each other. Me and Jigga have now got a kind of nice understanding. And she's definitely a female. So I have to try and find some. Sorry, go, Mark. Woodlands, timberlands, desert mountains, drainage. Cool, and that's from Scotty in Missouri. Cool, so the different habitats that are out there in the US. Oh, I can hear a woodpecker. Cardinal's woodpecker. Or cardinal, should I say. Somewhere in the bush there. I'm thinking I'm hearing a brew. I'll have to check the distribution, but it sounds almost like a brew. Or they sound like a telephone ringing. Okay, so we're just down in Zoe's Road. Heading towards Impala Plains. And then we need to go north. Okay. Good morning to you, Elle, and hope you're doing well. And just to let you know, Will is in FC, and he says thanks for the email. Elle, one of the SAST sisters. So we're just going to slowly make our way down towards the Impala Plains. Let's say if we do lose signal, we'll see how we do. hoping that it's a good day today. There is absolutely no clouds in the sky today. It's beautiful. I say the temperature is much warmer than yesterday, even this time yesterday. I say it just goes to show the difference in the animal behaviour, even just with a few degrees difference. So it sounded like it's a Styx Pride this time, so I don't know what happened to the Windmill Pride. They say when we left them, they were on Gowrie Main last night, and then they walked up Leadwood, and then it sounded like they did a U-turn somewhere and headed back towards Gowrie Main from what I understood. So I'm not sure if they went back home, as it were. It would make sense. There was one set of male tracks where we were following, and the rest looked like the females, quite small females, so it would make sense if this is the Styx Pride. Because remember, the Styx Pride have the one young male and 3 young females, all roughly around 2 years old, and then 4 adult females. Possibly a 5th one. Apparently she is pregnant. And I've yet to meet the Nkahuma Pride. I'd still love to meet them. I know Jared saw them a few days ago. They were up by Buffles Hook Dam. Copy that, I'm still on my way, thank you. So do you know where the power lines are on Impala?
Yeah, it's a little bit down.
So we're going to rely on you to get us there, hey?
Sorry?
We're going to rely on you to get us there.
Well, it's just one long road.
Okay. Okay. Okay guys, just getting from Mark. If we're going in from this side, then we may lose you. So what we're going to do is... So what we'll do is we'll see if we can try and locate them, and hopefully they're in a signal area. But obviously if we don't get picture, then we'll have to leave them, and we'll see if we can just get a shot, hopefully for the video diary at least. But I'm hoping that we don't lose you, so stay positive everybody. There has been the odd day where we haven't lost people along here. Actually that sounded wrong, I've never lost a guest. Losing signal.
Okay, can we quickly cut away? My battery is over and out, and then we'll come back to you guys as soon as picture is good, and we are hopefully with the lines. Mark, I'm running sound through camera, so you're going to have to put sound down, or you're going to lose sound.
Hi everybody, Mark here in Final Control. Well, we're doing a couple of things now. We're just doing a battery change on the camera, and at the same time they're going through a bit of a signal patch on their way to Sandy Patch from Impala Plains. Hopefully we'll get some signal back when they get near the sighting where the lion are. We're looking forward to that any moment now. I've been panning around Gowrie Dam. Can't really see anything other than the hippo in the water at the moment. so maybe we'll get lucky. I've just had some monkeys shouting outside here in the car park, so there is something around. My guess is one of the boys, one of the leopards, and hopefully they'll make their way down to the dam a little bit later. But for now, lovely peaceful setting at the dam, and I'm going to get ready to cut back to Tara and Herman. In the meantime, I'll leave you with some sounds at Gowrie, and I'm going to be talking to Tara in the next minute or so to see whether we can get signal with those lion. I'll be back with you shortly.
We have found 2 giraffe. Oh, and I think this is who we saw yesterday. I recognise the tail. Had half his tail missing, or the black tip to the tail missing. Was fly swat. So I think it's the 2 males that we saw right towards the end of the drive on Buffalo's Hook Cliff Line. Very, very dark male, and then a smaller one at the back.
Can I show you guys that this giraffe, even though its tail is gone, still has a head? It's just behind the tree at the moment.
And sorry for all the rustling, I'm just taking my jacket off.
It is slowly but surely warming up here at Juma.
It is, hey? Sure.
I'm going to give it another few minutes before I take my jacket off.
I see, I've got another jacket underneath. Okay, I'm going to throw this one open to you guys. I want to know what your favourite fact is about giraffe. Maybe something to do with the neck, maybe the tongue, maybe the legs. I think it was the last one yesterday. I think there's been a couple without tails. Or am I needing binoculars again? Maybe I do need binoculars again. I can't see. I'm just going to double check on see if it is the male or not. Unfortunately the bush is in the way at the moment. With his head being in the bush. Mark's seeing a female. Could be. So maybe I don't recognise it after all.
But Mark also saw a lion when it was a bush, so...
That is also very true. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm behind a bush and trying to look at the stomach. Actually, this time I think Mark could be right. I just saw the darkness and the tail, but it actually it does look like a female now. That's why I need binoculars. So is there any favourite facts coming in through yet?
I think Mark is multitasking at the moment.
Oh. Well, they can run at top speed about 30 miles an hour, which is roughly about 45 kilometers an hour. But they look very, very graceful when they do it. And if ever you watch them walk, let's see if this one moves off, but they don't walk like normal animals, in that you take the front left and the back right and that sort of thing. Both legs on one side will move, and then both legs on the other side will move. It's quite a different stance, different gait to other animals. So next time you see a giraffe move, just have a watch out for that. And I'm sure there's quite a few people that know how many bones are in the giraffe's neck. But for those of you who don't, maybe have a quick guess how many bones you think are in the giraffe's neck. It's fairly long. Sorry? Aha, Jerry! Apparently I have some telepathy going on with you. Apparently that is your favourite fact, the fact that they have the same number of bones in their neck as we do. Which is 7. And just remember, they're just going to be much, much larger than ours. And that's from Jerry in, was it Minnesota? I think it was Minnesota. I can hear a parrot. I can hear a brown-headed parrot flying over, but I think he's quite far. And just remember, that's why the giraffe's neck isn't as versatile as what maybe like a swan or a goose or something like that. Swans contain maybe about 40 tiny, tiny, tiny bones in their neck, and that's why they can make that really nice S-shaped curve. Owls too. Okay, owls have 40 bones in the neck as well, or is it less? 14. So Mark's saying that owls have 14 in their neck. That's quite amazing, the fact that it's such a small animal compared to a giraffe or even a swan. Obviously for the larger owls, but you know, thinking about the owlets, 14 bones in the neck, so they have a lot of movement in the neck.
Don't you want to move forward like a meter,
Yep.
please?
You can do, and then when we get a nice shot of them, we'll move on to the lions. Only they
Stop.
flat cap at the moment.
A little bit back. That's
A
right.
little bit back.
Just a little bit.
Nope.
Roll, no, just roll back.
Huh? Hold on.
No. It's
The
fine.
communication is breaking down.
It's fine.
Okay, I can see the rounded stomach this time. So Mark wins this time, but I still call the bush. I wonder if anybody knows how heavy the heart is for the giraffe. Because remember, it's got to be a very large heart to pump the blood up the neck. It's got about 2 meters to go against gravity to still have blood reaching the top of the head. So it's got to be a very large heart. very large muscle to pump that blood up there. And at the base of the brain they actually have a small capillary network, which is called a rete mirabile, and just Latin for wonderful net. And it just acts like a sponge almost. So once the blood, when they put the head down, once the blood has been slowed down by the valves in the artery, which is very unusual to have valves in the artery in the first place. You generally only have valves in a vein to stop the blood going back on itself, because remember, from the artery, from the heart, the blood going through the arteries, it's got quite a lot of pressure to keep it going in one way, but as soon as it gets to wherever it's going and it sort of comes back along the vein, there's less pressure. So that's why you have valves in the veins, to stop that happening, to actually keep the blood going in the same way. So when the giraffe puts his head down with this large heart, it's got so much pressure it could actually damage the brain, maybe even explode the brain if it didn't have the adaptions that it does. And with the valves in the artery, it's slowed down enough so that by the time it hits the capillary network and then the brain, it's slowed down enough not to cause brain damage. This capillary network helps to soak up a lot of the blood, obviously to reduce the pressure getting to the brain as well. And then when they put the head up, they have like a reservoir system, so it doesn't all drain from the head and make the giraffe pass out. But this small device is so intricate and so important that even eland and gemsbok, the animals that live in the very hot places, they have this wonderful net, capillary network, to help transfer the temperature or the heat from the blood in the arteries into the vein, so when the blood hits the brain, it's cooled down enough so the brain thinks that where this animal is, it's cooler than what it actually is. So it allows the body temperature of that animal to increase, and it allows the eland and the gemsbok to cope with the very, very hot areas, very, very hot temperatures. They can raise the body temperature up to about 38, 42 degrees, and if we did that, we would be dead. So this small capillary network is very, very important to the survival of some of the desert living animals. And obviously to the giraffe, it's got a different role to actually stop the brain from becoming, getting brain damage basically from the blood. So we've got an answer back about the size of the heart, Mark. Not hearing anything. Okay, we are on the move. Has anyone come back? Has anyone come back about the size of the heart of the giraffe yet? Cool, thank you, Ice Age. You say your favourite thing about giraffe is the way that they stand to drink, where they spread their legs and they have to put their head down. That's also pretty cool. Okay, Jamie, you're asking, was it a female or a male? I hold my hand up. It was a female. So what I thought it was the same giraffe we saw yesterday, it wasn't. So I couldn't see the belly too nicely, but the belly was quite nice and rounded. It didn't look pregnant, it just looked normal size for a giraffe. Giraffe tend to sort of go out that way rather than that way. But breeding season, there isn't really one for giraffe. They can breed all year round. So you get the male giraffe moving between female herds. They don't always have to be in herds, they can be on their own. And I'm seeing telegraph poles here. Cool, so hopefully... Oh, power line, sorry. So hopefully we should be... Awesome. And who was that? That was Camel. Camel in the chat. Thank you. Just saying that it can pump. If you can just repeat the amounts for me. I think you said 20 gallons every minute, which is, what's the equivalent in litres? 75 litres. Now that I didn't know. 75 litres a minute. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. 75 litres. And you've got the correct weight on the heart. It's about 11-12 kilos, which was 20 pounds, was it? 25 pounds for the heart. Now I'm just going off road here because there was tracks here which came off, and they said about 40 meters from the power lines. I keep calling them telegraph poles. So I think this should be the area where the lions are. I've got tracks coming here. Can you see where the rest of the tracks go? They go in a bit more. I'm going to do a little bit.
Yeah, you go follow clearing the south until you cross the power line and then south of the power line. So you can go level.
Yeah, it says south of the power lines. A station interested in Gala. I'm just trying to relocate at the moment. You're more than welcome. Let's see where the rest of these tracks go. Maybe around this side here. Let me just see. Otherwise we'll go back out onto the road and just see if there's any more vehicle tracks coming in. Just taking it easy. We've got a termite mound here, and if there are any aardvark around, then they'll probably make holes, in which case our wheels will go into them. I can't see too well with the thick grass. Don't go too far off the road. There's certainly one set of tracks coming in here. They said they were flat cats, so we have to just keep a lookout for...
I thought there's a log.
Oh, is there a log?
There's still a little stick standing up.
Come on, I just want to see a tail flicking. That would just help us. Okay, let me go back out to the road, 'cause maybe this was just a searching track rather than it being for the lions here. Oh, how big a stick? Can I get over it?
Yeah, you should be fine. Just keep
Just
straight.
take it easy.
Are you over?
Oh, I'm over it. Okay. 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 We'll drive up a little bit more. It's very deceptive. Especially when you're trying to relocate animals because everyone else has pulled out the sighting now. Probably because they're being flat cats. They'll probably stay flat cats now for the rest of the day. Just remember, lions can sleep 20 hours a day. Very, very lazy. They don't run around if they don't have to. Conserve their energy as much as possible. maybe someone just turned around in there. There's definitely one set of tracks going in there. Let's try a bit further up. So just to the south.
There they are. Stop,
Have you
stop,
got
stop.
Oh, just here. Goes to show. We've got the young male here. Just going to move a little bit
All
further.
of the rest
on.
of them are there.
Yeah, we've got the females here. Hey, ladies.
And there's one right next to the road as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, there's a couple. Just see if I can angle the vehicle here. Oh,
We
we've
can
got
park there.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I'll see if I can just turn my nose here.
That's pretty good.
Just there? Or do you want me to
That's
move back
perfect.
a little bit?
That's perfect.
Stations, I've got the lock of the Ngala. Standing by. Did you recognise who that was?
No.
Station, standing by. You're more than welcome to join the lock on Impala Road. And it really just does go to show, if the animals aren't too fussed about being found, they know what the roads are about. They've obviously come into contact with vehicles enough times in their life. So if they don't want to be found, they will not go anywhere near the road. So you can see from Karula, we were trying to find her yesterday, she went into the drainage line and went to the thick bush. She didn't really want to be found. These guys, out in the open, they've been walking on the road. I'm pretty sure it was their tracks that we had. They probably went to the gate and maybe down. Yeah, go. I'm standing by. You're more than welcome to join the log.
Yeah, how was that?
Are we on Impala Road, just south of the powered lines?
I think it's just around the air station over there. Yeah. Correct.
If anyone can copy me, can you maybe relay? He's more than welcome. It certainly does look like the Styx Pride. I can't see any more males, and if it was the windmill, it should be seeing one female with a collar on, and we should be seeing three males. We don't only count 7, so we should be seeing at least 2 males or 3 males, and the rest look like they are females. Styx Pride, for those of you who are just joining us, this is live. We are broadcasting from Djuma Game Reserve, right here in the Sabi Sands, on a beautiful morning here in South Africa. And clearly the lion's enjoying the morning sun. And you've got myself, Tara, presenting. I've got Herman with me on camera this morning on Jigga. And we have Mark in final control. And if there are any questions you'd like to ask, then you can send them through to filecontrol@safari.tv. And thank you to everybody so far for all your questions and information. And if there's any other questions, definitely send them through. And if we have any new viewers, welcome on board this morning. And I hope you're enjoying the lions. That female who we saw a couple of weeks ago, and she wasn't looking too well, looks like some of her fur is actually growing back. And she looks a little bit better than what she has been. Possibly they've been feeding. And we've got the young male up and moving. So Styx Pride is one of the, I'd say probably one of the 4 prides that we would get here on our little area that we traverse. We traverse about 1,000 hectares of Duma, which is somewhere around 10,000 hectares in total. And just remember, that's where the glands are on the cats, on the chin, on the cheek, sorry. And when a cat rubs against your leg, they'll also rub their chin or cheek against your leg, so it's also just passing on their scent to you. And that's what this young male was doing. Obviously with, it looks like his sister. And again, very important in lion society to allo grooming each other. You can see she was holding up her chin, welcoming him to actually come and groom her.
Yeah, it looks like he hates it. She hates it, huh?
Yeah, she looks like she's really not enjoying it.
Sure, it looks like a... And I also haven't forgotten about putting in the information upon the tree from yesterday and the pictures from Mishu and the cheetah standoff on the day before. I will be putting them up on the website, hopefully if not today then tomorrow. I will definitely be doing it. I haven't forgotten about any of that yet. Okay, we have a question coming through. Okay. So I'm just trying to get some nice portraits of the Styx Pride, because what I want to try and do is maybe build up a bit of a portfolio for everybody. So I know it's quite useful to try and get the whisker line and the look of the animal, any distinguishing features. But Marlene's got quite an interesting question. Welcome on board this morning, Marlene. And you're just asking about the sandy patch female. You thought you heard someone, I think it was earlier on last week, saying that maybe the sandy patch female has joined one of the prides. And do we know which pride and if it's true? I'm certainly not sure. I thought it may have come through. I think it was Johnny that said it, and I think it may have been the Nkahuma pride that Jared found up by Buffalo's Hook Dam. I think it was that sighting. Where the sandy patch female would have joined them, I'm not sure. It is supposed to be a pride that's made up of 8, so I'm not sure if there was an extra one there that made him think that maybe it was sandy patch. I've not heard of any distinguishing features of sandy patch, so I don't know if he saw a difference in her. I'll certainly see if I can talk to him and find out
what the story was from him. The likelihood of it happening, it's difficult to say. It possibly could happen. I have seen on the odd documentary where an outsider has eventually been accepted into a pride, but even then it's very much, they're not part of the pride. They're very much on the outskirts. The females tend to give them a hard time. It's very, very difficult for an outsider to join another pride. As I say, I have seen it on documentaries where it has happened on a very rare occasion. But whether it has happened, I'm not sure, but I think it was the Nkahuma Pride that they saw the other day. I think that's when it was being spoken about. And actually, I think it was if I can remember rightly, I think it was actually the Styx Pride that killed Sandy Pride's Pride members. I think it was I think there was definitely a pride involved as well. I think they killed one or two, but I'll have to double check the history again. So I remember just sort of briefly reading it. Okay, we have a question coming in. And another question from Jamie. I'm glad to see that you're glad to hear that you're enjoying the lions, and you're asking, do they often groom each other like this? Very much so. Very, very much so. It's very important in lion society, and whether it be male, female, cubs, young, old, you'll find them grooming each other like this. And it's just known as allo grooming, and all sorts of animals will do it that live in a herd or a group. Zebras will groom each other, monkeys will groom each other, baboons, chimpanzees, gorillas, dogs, hyenas, all sorts of animals that live as a group and rely on the bonds between the group will groom each other. And it just, as well as obviously keeping the fur clean and getting rid of ticks and dead fur and that sort of thing, and obviously reaching the hard to reach places that you wouldn't normally be able to reach if you were that animal. So health wise it's important, but also to strengthen the bonds. And it is a way of strengthening the bonds. As I say, you can see that male walked over to that female, he nuzzled her, which is also, it's a greeting, and that's a very important part of lion society. Again, if they haven't seen each other for a while, especially after an absence, or if there's been a kill or something like that, or if they've just been sleeping for a while and they've moved, like the male obviously did there, it's a greeting. And obviously he wanted to have some interaction with her, so it could be that that was his way of saying, hi, I want to, spend some time with you or whatever. So it's a greeting. And if you do have a pet cat at home, when you have a day at work and you come back, the cat will run up with its tail sort of cocked to one side, and it runs up to you and starts nuzzling you, and that's it also greeting you. So it's got that mentality. Leopards also, I've been seeing it a lot. They walking up to each other, they'll nuzzle each other, the heads come together underneath the chin. But as I say, even males will do it. If you've got a coalition of males, they will nuzzle each other and they'll walk up, and generally the subordinate male will go underneath the chin of the more dominant male. So obviously it's just showing rank as well. And I say it's a very, very important part of family life. And strengthening those bonds, you need to keep those bonds strengthened. Obviously for hunts, you need to make sure that every member gets on with each other and they know what they're doing and everything. Why is she looking like she's seen something? I wonder if that herd of impala we saw further down has walked this way. You see, she's sort of keeping her head flat, but her ears aren't completely flat at the moment. She obviously just spied something. Now what's quite interesting is that, yes, the whole pride is sleeping. But I'll tell you something, if there was an opportunity for them to make a kill, all the pride members, if they're hungry enough, they'll be awake and alert within seconds. And there's very, very little wind, but it's difficult to get a direction. I don't think she's getting a scent. Oh, she could be getting a scent. I think it is coming from behind us. So she could be getting a scent of something. Sorry, Mark. Aha. Thank you very much, Beryl from British Columbia. Coming back to us on the Pride, it was actually the Unkahuma Pride that killed the Sandy Patch. So I remember there was a Pride involved, I just couldn't remember which one. So thank you very much, Beryl, for that one. And with it being the Unkahuma Pride, it's probably even more unlikely that the Sandy Patch female would join them, because she would certainly obviously recognise the smell, and obviously know what happened. I think they killed 2 of them, if I can remember rightly, but as I say, I'll have to double check that all. But she would certainly recognise them for sure. So I must admit, on my side, I think it's highly, highly unlikely that the Sandy Patch female was with them. Cool, thank you very much, Mark. Just let everybody know Sapiwe is taking over the directing. So if you'd like to ask any questions, you just need to email Sapiwe in Final Control, so the email address being finalcontrol@safari.tv. You see we've got the male up, the female, and the other female next to her. She's also looking quite alert now. I do wonder if something is walking this way. What is she looking at?
I think she's just trying to get some extra sun.
Yeah, it could be. I'll tell you something though, they're very much keyed into the vulture movements. So they'll also watch vulture movements. Now remember, their eyesight is somewhere between 6 and 8 times better than ours. So she may even be able to see a vulture in the sky that we cannot see. Because it almost looked like she was looking straight up into the sky, but she could have just been putting her nose up high to get the scent. And we were wondering if it was one of those things that they learned out here in the wild to watch for vultures, because obviously if the lions are hungry, they will go and eat carrion, and they'll even steal a kill from hyenas or even leopards, cheetahs. So if they're watching the vultures and they're coming down to a carcass, then obviously they can get a free meal. But there was a bit of a, is it something they learn, or is it natural behaviour? And my friend who works in the wildlife centre said that she actually saw the lions who had been born there watching vultures. So it must be some behaviour that is just programmed into them. Because how would a captive lion know anything about finding carrion through a vulture? But she said they were certainly watching the vultures and watching where they were going. It would be quite interesting to know if they would have put the connection together, if they had the possibility, would